Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Our show is brought to you by Vuori. I have an unhealthy amount of joggers, but Vuori's performance joggers, they take the cake as the softest, most comfortable ones I have. Check out the description below for 20% off of your first purchase. On today's episode, we have all of our sports analysts, Brian Friend, Tommy Marquez, and Patrick Clark, here to reveal their early contenders for Rookie of the Year at the CrossFit Games. Now, each analyst, they picked a different athlete, only one. So they had to choose either a male or female. And then here we go. First, CrossFit, they have this standard that it's the highest finishing rookie. But did you guys look at any other variables or like what went into the decision process? Tommy, we'll start with you.
Well, I kind of looked at relative experience as well as some elements about them as athletes that I think would play particularly well with the CrossFit Games. There is a different level of programming. There is a slightly different skill set as far as like the breadth of athleticism that is required to succeed at the CrossFit Games. And there are certain things that, year to year get rewarded more often than not in terms of being able to adapt to things outside of your typical gym format. And so things like that, if I know an athlete has experience in that arena, it's definitely going to stand out to me.
PC, what were some of the things that you were looking at?
I just looked at the strength of the field, that athlete relative to the whole field, and how that athlete did against comparable athletes in the semifinals. I mean, obviously we have two workouts that we can kind of compare this year as opposed to past year. So it kind of gives us analysts something to base our information off of going into the games.
Brian, what made you select your pick that we'll get to in just a second?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to win Rookie of the Year. There isn't one for the men and one for the women. It's only one outright across all 80 athletes, and there are a ton of rookies this year, over 30 rookies. So you have to beat all of them, basically. So I was trying to see, well, which are the ones that I think have the highest likelihood based on outside competition experience and just overall training age in CrossFit that, will more than likely be up towards the top of the pile. But I still had like 6 at that point.
So you had 6 and you had to narrow it down to just one. How hard was that?
Well, thankfully, Tommy and PC knocked a couple off the board, so it made it a little bit easier.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so Brian, your Rookie of the Year, Spencer Panchik. How did you eventually narrow that down just to him?
Yeah, I think that Spencer's kind of he's a really good pick here. I don't know that if I was just picking one and I hadn't thought much about it that I would have picked him. But upon further thought, he's been doing this for almost 10 years, and he has a ton of similar competition experiences to his brother, Saxon, who has obviously done very, very well at the games. And, in similar competitions that they've had since 2018, they were 2nd and 3rd in Brazil. They were 5th and 8th at Khrennikov Games. They were 7th and 14th. Spencer had a bad finish at Mayhem, but they were 4th and 6th at Wodapalooza, and then 7th and 8th at Wodapalooza this year, with Spencer actually getting the better of Saxon for the first time. So, like Tommy said, there are some different elements, and the totality of the test at the games is obviously different. But I don't think that Spencer is going to have a difficult time acclimating to a higher volume of test and to that ability to recover between days and workouts the way that some of the other rookies at the games are, just because he's been doing this for so long, alongside for a lot of his career to other people who've had a lot of success doing it in his brothers. So I think he's in even though he hasn't competed at the games yet, he's seen that process so many times that I think being able to carry it out, especially because of how much experience he does have at other competitions, is something that he'll have a leg up on most of the other athletes with. And he's pretty well-rounded in general. I think that, the one knock against him would be that he's probably not going to have those home run hits, but hopefully doesn't have the negative ones either. And that consistency can end up putting him, I think, probably somewhere, I think up to 10th would be like the best he could possibly do. And then this year's games field, that might be good enough.
PC, you went with the females leaderboard. We have Alexis Raptis as your Rookie of the Year pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that I'm a big fan of Raptis. Someone I've been harping on since last year, and this year I picked her as one of my young guns, and she's just been simply amazing. I mean, she's had a really good season. Finished 2nd at the Syndicate in a really tough field, and I mean, she almost beat Haley Adams in that field. I mean, She had all top 10 finishes except for the barbell complex, which was very surprising because she's really good around the barbell. But I think a lot of that might still have to do that she was still kind of testing the waters on her injury. She'd I think had elbow surgery, I believe, in the off season prior to this season. So she wasn't even at 100% through semifinals and quarterfinals. And she's just, Max has got her well prepared. You got to love that camp down there. She's been training with Sarah, Noah, Travis. I mean, she made that commitment, made the move from Utah to Georgia, and she's 23 years old. She has games experience as a teen, and just like Brian said about Spencer, she has a lot of high level competition. She was part of the sanctional circuit. Then last year she was at West Coast where she almost made it. I mean, obviously it came down to the last event. She finished 6th. So I'm really high on her. I think she has the tools to do really good in a game style format in terms of programming. Like I said, she doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, and she's that type of person who can consistently probably finish in a top 10 in multiple events throughout the whole weekend, barring any cuts or anything like that. So, and I think that's key in terms of high finishes, because that's what they base the Rookie of the Year on, is where you finish overall. And I think, with her skill set, I could definitely see her finishing maybe in the top 12 with that particular set of skills. She is, particular set of skills.
Jumping back to the men's field, Tommy, you selected somebody else who we've been talking about for a while, Dallin Pepper.
Yeah, I think Dallin is probably one of the more polished rookies that we've seen coming in at such a young age. Obviously being only 20 years old, but coming in with a ton of games experience. I had a chance both to catch up with his coach, Matt Torres from Brute Strength, and Dallin in the last couple of days. And there are a few things really stand out to me. One, his athletic background. He's got a base of multi-sport athlete in high school, playing football, baseball, doing a lot of different things outside. And I think we typically see young athletes that have a multi-sport background at the games be the ones that show up and perform well, at least as far as they have the other elements of CrossFit taken care of. And then you also take a look at his competition experience. Well, Dallin has 3 CrossFit Games titles in the teenage division under his belt. All 3 came at Madison in that venue, and it came during years in 2017, 2018, where the teenage division actually got to mimic some of the bigger outdoor elements that the individuals got to do, like the swim event, like the obstacle course race, and some of those like unfamiliar type movement stuff that you don't get anywhere else. And then you have to look at what's between the ears for Dallin. He's incredibly steady. And you talk to anyone, whether it's his coach, whether it's the other athletes, he's the kind of guy that mindset-wise is pretty much unflappable. He has an ability to pick out a successful strategy with his coach very quickly and almost on the first crack, which you're going to need at the games and in live competition in general. But also, if he has a bad event, he doesn't let it weigh on him. And I think a great example of that was Wadapalooza this year, where he finished 5th. He had pretty much a terrible Saturday with 3 finishes outside of the top 15. And how does he bounce back? A 7th and then an event win in the finale to move him just 7 points outside of a podium spot with a very talented Wadapalooza field. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the 8th, 9th range if he catches a little bit of a tailwind at the games. And I think he is an athlete that's going to be knocking on the door for years to come on the men's side.
Did any picks get stolen between you guys?
Tommy stole my Dallin pick, but I really put Dallin and Alexis are very similar. Where they're both alums of the teen division, multiple experiences, very young. So it was pretty easy to switch up from Dallin to Alexis.
It was, I think we all had a pool of maybe 3 to 5 athletes that we were considering, and we were going to maybe talk about doing a draft like we did with, our previous picks. And then we all just kind of like sorted it out like gentlemen on the, on our group thread. So
yeah.
Sorted it out like gentlemen. I love that. A name I want to bring up. What about Roman Khrennikov? Did any of you guys think about picking him? Is he in the mix? How's that work?
Ryan, you want to take that one?
No, he's not eligible. He competed in the 2020 stage 1 of the CrossFit Games, and that means that this year is not his rookie year, even though we haven't seen him in a live competition there. If he was in the field of play, then I would have probably lobbied for a draft.
Would everybody unanimously picked him?
I mean, it would have been no question for me. I think, like, I can only imagine just the feeling of relief that's going to go through him and Snorri's collective embodiment when he finally steps onto the floor there. That he's just going to ascend to a higher consciousness and then somehow just run away with like 4 event wins.
I just can't. There was probably maybe 2 to 4 weeks ago, he posted something on Instagram I thought was just perfect. And all it said was, "I'm already here."
Oh, yeah.
I think you have to think about everything that he's given up this year, being away from his family, his new baby for this entire season, the risks that he's taken of going to Asia and coming back. He doesn't speak the language. He's been immersed in the U.S. for 6 months now or something like that. I mean, it's a big deal what he's given up for this opportunity this season. And I think that it will be, rewarded when we get to see what he's capable of at the games.
He's like a dad on vacation right now, getting to the airport like 6 hours early, just to be safe.
Yeah, just to be safe. Brian mentioned there's just a bunch of rookies. I mean, I'm just curious, were there any rookies that you guys are kind of looking at, maybe not to win Rookie of the Year, but maybe make a big splash at the games where they kind of just show up and everyone's all of a sudden their all eyes are on them?
For sure. I think that probably the rookie that we didn't mention that's most people are most excited about is Emma Lawson. I mean, she was absolutely dominant at the Atlas Games. We've talked about how maybe that wasn't the most strong North American women's field that we've seen, but it doesn't matter. She still went out there and executed her game plan very well. She looked like she was moving incredibly well on almost every implement that she was challenged with that weekend. She has had that competition competing against some of the big names in the sport in Dubai last year. And she had a top 10 finish there. So I think Emma Lawson is a really good shout. I considered potentially picking her. But overall, I think, when it came down to it, I like the experience of it, the entire career that Spencer has, especially being in that environment with his brothers for so long. So I went with him over her. I
thought Tudor Magda might be a outside guy that not maybe for the full breadth of what's going to happen, but he could maybe sneaky win an event. Some of his gymnastic skill set and his like raw strength. If we see like a classic like games level loading gymnastics kind of couplet, then maybe that's something that, whether it's like the clean muscle up clean ladder that we saw from 2017 or 2018, something like that, he could maybe have a couple of good events.
One I'm kind of looking at is Christine Kohlenbrander. She's one of those, if there aren't any cuts and there is some type of strength snatch or clean and jerk event, I think she's someone that, she was on a demo team last year. She's been to the games as on a team, but I think she's someone, if she can make it a long weekend for some athletes, especially if the right events pop up, and she can win some events, potentially win some events at the game.
Brian, what's your bottom line for Rookie of the Year this year?
There's a lot of contenders in the mix, but I would say my bottom line is that the Rookie of the Year this year will not place as high as Mal did last year.
Ooh. Okay, Tommy, what's your bottom line?
For the second year in a row, the Rookie of the Year will not be able to enjoy a celebratory drink afterwards, legally.
I love that.
They're gonna hand the Rookie of the Year Martinelli's instead of champagne.
PC, what's your bottom line?
Very similar to Tommy, but I'm going to take a different. For the third time in 4 years, you're going to have a Rookie of the Year that's an alum of the team division, the games team division.
Awesome. Those are very creative bottom lines, guys. I think the most creative yet. I love that.
Wow.
Coffee's kicking in.
Yep, it's getting ready. All right, guys. Thanks for the early contenders to the Rookie of the Year, and we'll see you next time.